the mating season, and it's something that we're all certainly looking forward to, all the antelope competing for mating rights. Well, anyway, that was really interesting to see, and glad that we got to start on some interesting behavior like that. Myself and Andrew, who's on camera with me this afternoon, are at WildEarthTV Dam, and I'm just going to creep forward a little bit because the Nyala have kind of popped out of view now, and that way we can show you who's at the dam. We arrived. There were a few little warthogs, but buffalo and impala and a hippo and her calf remain. And there's a heron, a grey heron, perched on that log just above the hippo. If you look closely, you'll see a little baby popping its head up out of the water. There it is. For now, the clouds seem to not be posing any major threats to us in terms of rain. They were looking really gloomy this morning. But for now, it looks okay, but there's a chance some wet weather could be coming in possibly later this evening, but we don't think it's going to impact on the drive this afternoon. Okay, sorry about that. We had the
good afternoon, no updates yet. One station is headed towards WildEarthTV Dam, and then probably make its way towards Buffelshoek.
Okay, well, the good news is we had the radio technician out here today, and this vehicle should be up and running with no problems going forward, which is great news. And sadly didn't bring one crucial part for Jigger, the vehicle that Brent's in this afternoon. So Brent will still be operating off the handheld, but at least we're getting there, sorting out our radio problems, because it has been a little bit frustrating for us out here. Let's have a quick look at that heron. Sorry, Andrew, I know you've just got into position there, but it seems like it may be poised in a position where, oh, there it just went for something, and I think it did catch a little fish. You can see it swallowing now, and we'll keep watching closely for a second. It may have a stab at another little fish. It must have been very small because I couldn't even make out that it was a fish. I just saw the action of it swallowing. Oh, here it goes. Thought about it. No. You can certainly see he's just on the brink of unleashing a full stab. Not quite wanting to commit, waiting for the perfect opportunity. to be a hunter archer, whether you're a heron or a leopard, requires patience. They do need to spend a lot of time poised and ready to strike, but wait for that opportune moment before they waste their time. As you can see, it seems like it's almost having small drinks or catching yeah, I think it's drinking those small mouthfuls it's taking at the end there. I've been keeping an eye on the Inyala behind us, and they are no longer doing that display that we caught as we went live. So really happy that we got to show you that, and I'm certain that we will be able to show you that more often as the weeks pass by and the breeding season really gets into the swing of things. Come on, Mr. Heron, there's a lot of people hoping you catch a big fish, but at the moment it appears to have switched out of hunting mode, and we'll leave it relaxing there with the hippo and her calf and continue on the quest for some other animals. For those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome on board. And just to let you know, it is an interactive live safari, so at any moments in the drive you could send through an email to questions@WildEarthTV or send a tweet through to #SafariLive and ask your question, which Alex, who's in the final control this afternoon, will try and get through to us, and we'll take it from there. So thank you very much for all of you who have been sending through questions, and apologies if we don't get to all of them, but there really are a huge amount that come through that we're very grateful for, and Alex has got a lot going on there in the final control, so it's not easy for him to be reading all the questions that get sent through and making sure the signals being the broadcast signals are okay, so that's something to bear in mind. Sorry, go again. Yeah, copy that, thank you. We'll save that for when we are viewing them. Yeah, comms are great, thank you. So the plan for this afternoon is for Brent to head to one area of Djuma and myself to start heading and working another area. He's kind of working the northern half and I'm working the southern half. And that is just to start with. It's actually a very small property that we can traverse for multiple reasons, but mainly because the broadcasting capabilities in this area limit us to a small area. So we're probably traversing an area about an eighth or a tenth of the size of what most game viewers will have access to in the Sabi Sands. So that does make life tricky for us in some regards, because we don't have freedom to move big distances in search of animals, and that means even though we're splitting up to work different areas, it's not difficult to get from one corner of Djuma to the other. It's quite small, but we have split up in order to try and cover as much ground as possible to start with. And in terms of prospects from this morning, we had some great elephant viewing, which was a highlight, and something that isn't always, it's an animal that's not always around. They're not territorial and therefore not always on Djuma. They can move huge distances, and really enjoyed some elephant sightings. Saw some highlights from Brent's drive, and it was really great, the sightings he had, especially with the big elephant bull throwing some dust over himself. So there were some ellies around, which is good, that we can try and follow up on. In terms of predators, Brent had some leopard tracks kind of in the central part of the property, but with all the elephants in the area, a herd had moved over and actually trampled over a lot of the evidence that would have been useful for Brent in order to be able to track down that leopard. Okay, are you ready for a challenge, Andrew? There it is. Well done, Andrew. And that was a battalier, and sadly, well, it still is a battalier. Sadly disappeared out of view. It's very far away, but always wonderful to watch the birds of prey soaring effortlessly. Effortlessly is a word that I battle to pronounce, I've noticed, over the last few weeks. And it really is a beautiful raptor, the battalier. And sadly, I've yet to be able to show you one close up personally. So that is something that I hope to do. This morning, when I stopped for the brown snake eagle, initially, as I first spotted it, I thought it was a battalier, but it was another beautiful raptor. So the plan is initially to slowly weave around the road networks, popping off at 2 waterholes in the southern part of Djuma, Treehouse Dam and Twin Dams. I found myself spending a lot of time there over the last few days, which is just how it goes sometimes, and it's interesting how you do find yourself working different areas more. Oh, jackpots. How you do find yourself working areas more commonly or more frequently than others for a week or two, and then you drift over and change to a different area. At the moment, I've been focusing a lot of my time in the south. This is a young bull, and is he going to give us some attitude, or is he just stepping forward there to get to the tasty shrub? Hello, boy. That was such a great shot. Well done, Andrea, and that was perfect timing. How you got to see how the trunk would have wrapped, or did wrap around that little shrub, and it uses its foot to chop it off at the roots. It's such a remarkable adaptation, that, to have your nose working as an extra limb for you, and you can't help but wonder how it ended up like that. Copy, Alex, I will do. Copy, that sounds good. Thank you. So at this time of the year now, elephants are, and a lot of the herbivores are having to become a little bit more resourceful and really look for little hidden treats, because a lot of the vegetation is drying out and has already been fed on. You'll notice how he was kind of digging in there in the base of the tree, looking for any snacks that possibly other animals hadn't found yet. And he's a small bull in terms of body size and tusk size, so in terms of age it's difficult to say. But fairly uncommon for the smaller bulls like this to be alone, so it'll be interesting to know if he is going to join up with a few other bulls, or if he's just trailing a little bit further behind them. Well, folks, just to let you know, there have been a lot of requests for us to head over to the Arathusa airstrip, and sadly the repeater there is causing a little bit of trouble for us. So we're working on that, but we currently cannot broadcast from that area, sadly. So hopefully in the next few days that will be rectified and we'll be able to go back over to Arathusa, because it really is a beautiful area, and I would love to see how much you noticed he gave us a little bit of attitude there, but nothing too serious. Hello, boy. Hello. And he's nice and close now, so I hope you're enjoying these close-up views that Andrew's giving you. And now you'll get a better idea of how close he actually is. And as you can see, it's probably a meter, 2 or 3 feet away. And he's come up to us. He's just inquisitive to know what's going on. And who knows, possibly he's a bit lonely. As I said, the men often spend time together. And maybe he just needed to come and spend some time with Andrew and myself. I always find sitting with elephants very relaxing. Well, not always. Let me rephrase that. When they are in a relaxed mood, you really do feel the same way as them, and they're such an incredible animal to watch that when they are in a relaxed mood, that feeling certainly is overwhelming. In the same note, when they are worked up and a little bit hysterical, you tend to feel the same way. Did you copy what he found there, Brent? Oh, I'm on Vulture's Nest, quite close to Central Junction. Where are you? Okay, copy. That sounds good. I'll maybe swing back around into that area and give you a hand. Copy. Copy that. So. Well, the good news is Brent has found some leopard tracks that he's busy following up on. So that's good prospects for later, and it's tracks of both a male and a female. So we'll head into that area a little bit later to give him a hand, but for now we'll just let him carry on doing his thing there. Sandy from Indiana, good afternoon and welcome on board. Sandy is asking, how do elephants know to dig for water underground or know where it is? And it's their sense of smell. They've got an incredibly strong sense of smell that helps them to detect water, and they will dig for water in riverbeds or also dig up pipes. A lot of the lodges in these areas have a constant problem having to fix piping that brings fresh water into the camps because elephants dig out the pipes to access the fresh water, and they do prefer fresh water to muddy water if they have a choice. So it's their sense of smell that allows them to do that, Sandy. Sorry, if you could go again, please. The last time we were in this riverbed, we had an incredible sighting of Nkuhuma, a young male leopard, pacing down towards us at night, and it had been something that I've been hoping to see for months since I arrived here, and finally it happened. Now, what I'm hoping is to come across some holes that have been dug by elephant, Sandy. I'm not sure if you have, or if you were following the drive where we could actually show you holes that had very recently been dug by elephant. We could actually see the elephant walking off in order to access the water below the water wall that's running through the water table below us. Well, we're going through a bit of a tricky patch with signal here, so that would be a perfect time to cut across to Brent. He hasn't had an opportunity to say hello yet this afternoon. See exactly how his leopard tracking has been going. Catch you later. Okay, well, sadly, Brent's signals just disappeared as Alex was about to cut across to him, so a bit of a director's nightmare there just happened. So sorry about that, Alex, no problem. What we will do is we will pop out of this riverbed. There was a Franklin that just got a fight behind us there and took off. And we'll pop out of the riverbed there and get into a little high ground. Okay, well, Alex just said that audio wasn't too good there for a second, but it's better now, and sadly, just to reiterate, Brent's signal crashed as Alex was hoping to cut across to him, so he stuck with me for a few more minutes, but I'm sure as soon as Brent's signal stabilizes, Alex will link across to him to get an update on how everything is going there. Ooh, no, this is an animal that you don't track every day, but I'm very happy to see their tracks, and I'm going to let Andrew focus on them. And this is one for you, the viewers, to tell me what it is we are tracking. So Andrew will slowly pan across this road, or down the road rather, and let you see these tracks. It's actually not easy, to be honest, with the angle of the vehicle. It's something that does frustrate me a little bit, not being able to incorporate you in the tracking, but it is so difficult with the way the camera is mounted on the vehicle to give you a good indication of what these tracks are. And I don't expect people to accurately guess from the picture you're getting. Anyway, we will wait to see we'll wait to see what people's suggestions are. But this is an animal that we haven't seen very recently. It's a big animal, and we are going to find it in the next 5 minutes. What do you think, Andrew?
It's possible.
It's possible. Anything's possible. Okay, so this is the first road junction, and it's veered to the left. I'm wondering if these tracks might be better for you to show. Yes, much better. Okay, now I'm going to jump. Oh, sorry. I'm going to jump out and give you a reference in terms of my hand size. So there's a baboon on the right, and the other animal that you need to... Judith got a question. Judith fired off a question quite quickly in saying it was a rhino. Sadly, Judith, it was not a rhino. And what I'll do is let's just find this animal. But what I will do, Judith, is if we get a moment a little bit later, I'll draw a rhino track for you. But I do want to try and find this animal. The second person was right, Alex, so all those people, you can let me know who they are. Joyce and David. And Joyce again. So 2 Joyces and David got giraffe right, and that is what we are looking for. And it's heading to Twin Dams, and if we're lucky, we will see it drinking. Well, hold on, let me rewind a bit. If we're lucky, we'll find it, and then if we're very lucky, we will find it drinking. It's still heading down the road, and I haven't seen one since I've been back. I know Brent managed to get a few glimpses of giraffe for you, but I have yet to see one since I've been back. Go ahead. Get Brent to send his message, please, Alex. Okay, copy, thanks very much. Confirm both sets of tracks. Copy, thank you, sir. Well, sadly, I was hoping to see the giraffe here somewhere, but there's no sign of him, and we are very close to one of our boundaries. We have, however, found this buffalo with an itchy ear, and he's making the most of this fallen down branch from a jackalberry tree to aid in his scratching. Now the giraffe's tracks were very close. The last ones were just behind us, so I'm almost certain he would have come and drunk at this dam. And what I want to do is just continue to make sure he's not anywhere nearby after having drunk here. Come on, giraffe. Giraffe and zebra are two animals that we don't get very many of in the Sabi Sands, so it does obviously depend on the time of year. Sometimes there are more giraffe and zebra around than others, but in general they are a tricky animal for us here, and today is no different. Oh, wonderful. Kudu. So we're finding everything that we're not looking for, and maybe that's a lesson, just to drive around. Oh, this is beautiful. Perfect golden afternoon sunlight. A few oxpeckers hanging on. She's got a strange growth on her right leg, right hind leg. I'm not sure what that could be, but she seems healthy enough for now. And now Andrew's just spotted another kudu, but this one is a beautiful male. Not quite in his prime, still got a bit of growing to do. Oh wow, look at the oxpeckers dust bathing. Sorry, Andrew, there's just too much going on, but let's make the most of this because it's not something we get to see often. Now, who would have thought rolling around in the dust is considered part of the cleaning process? And it really is a funny motion. And this creates almost a protective layering over their body that helps protect them against mites and small fleas. And it also creates a substrate with which they can help, which will help them to clean themselves when using their beak. So they'll use their, by having a small substrate there, little bit in them, cleaning effectively. I'm just going to creep forward. It looks like the kudu might be drinking from the small wallow here. That would be wonderful if we can get some shots of that. She could be eating the soil. Oh, you okay? It's disappeared down a small hole temporarily. I think she could have just eaten a small piece of the soil, because the mud wallow is completely dry. Blessings, Andrew. Blessings.
Thank you.
It appears that there's a few more ladies coming to join this one that we've been viewing. Blessings. I didn't know you were allergic to kudu, Andrew. And Andrew's doing a great job in showing you the full picture here of the setting that we're in, and it really is a beautiful setting and a beautiful afternoon. I'm really enjoying the weather at this time of the year. It's been certainly a lot more pleasant than December and January, which are exceptionally hot and humid. There's another male. Both males seem quite small, to be honest, and they may be following these ladies thinking that they are going to get lucky in the coming weeks or months. But there's a bachelor herd of 4 big boys that I'm sure will come in and teach these 2 youngsters a lesson. Well, as you can see, they've all disappeared into some fairly thick vegetation now, so I think this would be a great opportunity for us to cut across to Brent and give him an opportunity to say hello to you all and give you an update on what he's been up to for the last hour. See you later.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on Drive. Brian and myself on this vehicle, Alex and FC, and I'm sure, as you already know, Scott and Andrew on the other vehicle. We've had a bit of a frustrating afternoon so far. We're following a male leopard tracks for quite a long time, and it looks like they crossed out of our area. But there is reports that he might have cut back, so we're going to loop around and go back onto Nkuhuma Road and see if we have any luck there. But welcome, and hopefully we don't break our cat streak. I'm telling you, it's because we spoke about it last night. I knew we shouldn't have spoken about it.
Jinxed it.
Yeah, I had that feeling. I was like, maybe we shouldn't mention it at the fireside chat. So I'm pretty sure it's this, the tracks of that male that crossed out was the same male we were following this morning, where we couldn't really track properly because of all the elephants in the area, and also with that that grumpy herd with the musk bulls and the poor female who's got that injury. But what do they say? If you're not out there, you can't find anything. Or you won't see anything unless you're out. Good afternoon, Teresa. Welcome on Drive. So I actually bought some notes about it. I'm just having a quick look at them here. It was a prolapsed uterus, and apparently there's been very few studied cases of prolapsed uteruses in elephants, and only I think 4 or 5 of the most documented ones were in captivity in zoos, and then one in Tarangire National Park in Tanzania. So basically it can be caused by sorry, let me just explain to those who weren't with us this morning. We came across an elephant herd where the elephant cow, one of the elephant cows in the herd, had a very noticeable large wound between her back legs, sort of in the area of her vagina, and I wasn't quite sure what had caused it. Because the herd was so stressed, I was concentrating more, because we had multiple elephants around us, on keeping us safe rather than really studying the injury to that elephant. Sorry. Nope. Hyenas. So a lot of the viewers who were very correct said it looked like it might be a prolapsed uterus. Basically, very basically, it means the uterus is sort of almost turned inside out and is actually trying to force its way out of the body. And then now back to what I was saying now, there haven't been that many studied cases. I'm sure it happens more often than we would think, but it's just not seen that often. And the ones that have been seen and studied have normally been in zoo animals. So it can be caused by difficulty during birth, or very specialized urinary and bladder infections. As far as I could understand, there isn't much information on it in elephants, as I was saying, but in other animals apparently it's far more common in sheep and domestic cattle, and I have seen it in buffalo before. I just didn't realize what it was. So I hope that helps explain that. So I'm really hoping this leopard, we have tracked him for quite a long way, decides to sort of do a U-turn, come back. Hello, mister. It's a buffalo bull making his way up from the dam. It's quite a neat looking haircut he's got. Good afternoon, old man. decided he's had enough wallowing and laying about next to the dam. Probably going to look for some grazing. Sorry, Mr. Buffalo, we've got leopard tracks to look for. So the other reason we're checking out quite carefully because there were female tracks as well in the area. And we didn't find any of them crossing out of our area, so it's possible that the female could still be in this area, and no one's checked this road yet this afternoon. So guys, if you have any questions, you can send them in to us via email, questions@wildearth.tv, or you can hashtag Safari Live on Twitter.
Oh! Yeah, on the western side of the drainage.
There's a
Right,
raptor in
my way
this.
through, yeah.
Where is he hiding now?
Yeah, okay.
Can you see him there? Okay, I don't know if you got him, bro. It's a pale morph Warburg's eagle. And you can hear that go-away birds going crazy. Oh, amazing. So it looks like he caught something on the ground there, or he could have been, I can't really see now, but that's a pale morph Warburg's eagle by the looks of things. So they have different color morphs. You can get dark ones and pale ones, but you can hear the go-away birds are very upset. Oh, wonderful. There we go. You can see that very distinct little crest that a Warburg's often has. So this is one of our true eagles, or Aquila eagles. So a true eagle, one of the main identifying features is that they do have feathers all the way down their legs to the beginning of their feet, where your buzzards, hawks, snake eagles do not have that. Go forward a little bit, would that be better, or is this good?
Yeah, it's okay. I think a little bit forward would have more of a solid stick in the way.
Okay. A bit of preening. So they're actually about to leave us shortly. So they come here for our summer, and then they migrate back up. Oh, lovely. There we go. Let me find the eagles for you. And have a look at the different morphs. So they migrate up to the Sahel region of West Africa, which is a savanna area through sort of West and North Africa. So they migrate in Africa. They actually breed down here in this area, and they will often return to the same nest for every year that they breed. There's actually a pair we see quite often around Vuyatela Dam. This could quite easily be part of that pair. We're not very far from the dam. The lories are seriously upset. In Botswana and Zambia, warbergs have been recorded attacking colonies of bee eaters that nest in the ground or in those clay banks from the rivers there, and they'll actually take the bee eaters as they come out of their holes. Well, carmine bee eaters specifically is the one they've been most documented catching at the nesting sites. Scott's coming. Alex, please, could you read out for me? Could you confirm whether Scott gave the viewers an update on the Nkuhuma pride or not? Duet saying negative, please go. Okay, copy that. And for those of you who were on drive with us yesterday, following the Nkuhuma pride, what made me think of them is that the tree that warburg's eagle is sitting in is a brown ivory, which the pride's named after. That they have rejoined with the two young lionesses that have been missing for the last couple of days. So they've rejoined with them, and so the whole pride is back together, but the Matimba boys have left them, and they're just to the south of us. Oh, you can hear the go-away birds are still quite upset. Very pretty bird. I'm gonna try to sneak forward to see if there's anything on the ground. I thought maybe it might have caught a scrub hare or something, but shame, if there is something on the ground there, we're not going to spend any more time and let it come down and finish its meal. So I think, yeah, a lot of people will be very happy to know that the Nkuhumas are reunited with the last two young lionesses. An old leopard track, not from today.
Afternoon station.
Good afternoon, Deborah from Arizona. Welcome on Drive with us this afternoon. Deborah is saying, well, in America, their national bird is the bald eagle, and was wondering if we consider any bird our national bird in South Africa, and we do. And let me find it for you quickly. There's a crane. It's called a blue crane. Is our national bird. Sorry, I see it. 144. Number 6 over there, that is our national bird, a blue crane. It is almost completely endemic to South Africa. There are remnant or tiny populations in Namibia and occasionally vagrants into Zimbabwe and Botswana. But they are actually an endangered species. Back a little bit, sure. They are actually an endangered species sorry, let me try to get that. There. They are actually an endangered species that due to, well, I knew that was going to happen in the wind. Because they have been hit quite heavily by things like very big farming enterprises. They need grasslands to survive, but they have been making quite a good comeback recently. Okay, so Deborah, there's our national bird, the blue crane. Nope, I thought I heard an alarm call. But good afternoon, Kathy from Tennessee. And Kathy would like to know, do the predators use the roads more than the prey species? Yes, they do quite often. When basically a road becomes a very nice place to walk, especially in the early morning, you don't get dew, you don't have grass seeds in your eyes, so it's like a really big animal part. So the predators tend to use the roads more as sort of highways, so to speak, as opposed to, you don't really find elephants marching down the road constantly, or impala or zebra. They tend to just cross the roads, but the predators do use the roads as good, nice, comfortable ways to get around.
Stations, mobile. Alright, copy. I know Ephraim's making his way up to give Aubrey a hand of those Ingwe and Congo. So I'm going to go make my way towards Nkuhuma and Garland.
Make your way. I'm still fiddling around between Mvubu, Aubrey's and Delago shortcut. Can you just check that back left tire for me there, Brian? No, I can feel it. Sorry guys, we're gonna have to love you and leave you while Brian and I change the tire. So I'm just gonna get hold of Alex and ask him to go across to Scott. Alex, did you copy that? Yeah. Alex coming? You're gonna have to cut to Scott. We've got a flat tire. Okay, sorry about that, guys. Brian and I will work as fast as possible, and not only can Brian can operate the cameraman, and I can take his ferry. We can also change tires. Michael Schumacher would want to have us on his pit team. Okay, so enjoy, and let's go see what Scott's got.
Seat's just not comfy today. Welcome back, and it's a pity to hear that Brent and Brian have got a flat tire, but we've actually been very lucky. We've had very few, considering the amounts of off-roading we do out here. And I'm sure it won't take them long. Ooh, this is looking good. There's some male leopard tracks here, and hyena tracks, and a snake track. So lots of tracks. But I fear that these tracks could be from this morning. Anyway, we will continue to follow them. I'm guessing it could be Mvula. Maybe not, but I have seen Mvula around in these parts, and he's a beautiful big dominant male of the area. Nearby. Those tracks are back on the road here and continue in the same direction we're heading. And the plan for us is to head to the hyena den site. Brent did try go there this morning, but it sadly wasn't active this morning, and it may well not be active this afternoon. It just really does depend on the luck of the draw each day. But look forward to getting there and seeing what happens. The leopard tracks, having looked at them over a number of meters, like I said, I've established that they are not very fresh, and in all likelihood from last night. We'll certainly keep an eye out though for any sign of a leopard, but I'm not feeling very confident. There's a young yellow-billed hornbill perched in this tree. You got it there, Andrew?
No.
It's just on the right, you're halfway up. No probs. It looks like it's got a few feathers out of place on its head there. And I can tell that it's a youngster because its beak is still considerably smaller than its parents. like the hornbills. And they look like they're out of This one certainly does have a few funny feathers above its right eye. They seem a little bit out of place. You see that there, how when he turned his head, it's like it's an extra growth of hair. Or feathers, rather. Well, that was a great view until he hopped up into those branches where he ended up. Hope you enjoyed that. I can't help but stop and look at leopard tracks, even if I know they're not fresh. I find them such pretty tracks to look at, and I guess my memory just starts unraveling all the happy thoughts of tracking leopard over the years. It is certainly one of my favorite things to do out here. Lion or leopard, any animal really, to track down is a great challenge, and when you do find them, the 5 or 10% of the time that you do, it really is such a wonderful feeling. Because when you think about it, the chance of actually finding something in this area, with all the hiding places and the distances these animals cover, it really is remarkable how we find anything at the end of the day. I think we are going to be arriving at a good time for the den to be active, and that makes a big difference. So obviously if you arrived in the middle of the day, you're going to be less likely to find the adults or the cubs playing about. But now that it's a bit cooler, I think we could get lucky. here, it looks like. So, good prospects. The hyena den sights off Zoe's is active. Well, very happy that we've got lucky, and you can see a little cub trying to nestle itself into a good spot for nursing there. And the mother would in all likelihood have been away from the den during the middle hours of the day. They typically come back in the early hours of the morning and allow the cub to feed, or cubs to feed, and then move off to relax during the day so they don't have the cubs pestering them permanently, and then will return in the evening. They won't move far from the den site, but far enough for the cubs not to follow them, and they'll return in the evening like we're seeing now, in order to get in one more feeding before they go out and search for some food for themselves. Well, for those of you who have not seen this hyena den site before, what's important to realize is that there are two other cubs, and you might be surprised as to the fact that I'm calling them cubs, because hyena look very dog-like, and therefore you'd assume that they would be called pups. But strangely enough, hyena are more closely related to cats than they are dogs, so that's why we call them cubs, the youngsters. And there are two more, we think, from a different litter within the termite mound, the burrow just behind where they're lying now, and we're not exactly sure what's going on there, because she does seem to be also giving them a little bit of attention, not as much as this one. We haven't seen them being raised by another female as of yet, so some interesting behavior going on here, and she may be raising both litters, even though only one may belong to her. So at any stage 2 more cubs could pop out, and possibly another adult. I've seen one other adult here in the past, and it was either a slightly younger female or a fully grown male. Craig, any sign of the other two your side? Sorry, go again there, Craig. Okay, copy. Interesting. Thanks very much. I'm at the Mnisikaya now of Rebecca's, active, 1 adult, 1 cub, and no other major reports. Copy, thanks Aubrey. Copy, thanks Alex. Is this cub going to come and say hello to us again? Just a few days ago it came so close to the vehicle and provided us with a really, really awesome view of it. But today it might not be as bold. Alex, if you could go with that hyena question from earlier, please. We've just got a question through from Johan. And Johan is asking why the female hyena have penises, and they may appear to have a penis, Johan, but it's actually just an enlarged clitoris, which takes on the appearance of a penis, and that is what makes our lives difficult, Archer, because sexing hyena, due to what we've just been chatting about, becomes tricky because they've both got appendages that look identical, essentially. Now, even looking at this cub now, we cannot tell whether it's a male or a female, which is hard to believe. But that's the way it is with hyena. They're interesting animals, and they certainly do keep us guessing. As I mentioned earlier, simply the fact that there appears to be 2 litters of different ages being raised by the same adults is interesting. And that is the beauty of nature. We are permanently surprised and taught by these animals that nothing is guaranteed out here, and there are a lot of unknown mysteries or ongoings that nobody can really describe. So don't be fooled by what you see, Johan, because it's deceiving out here in the wilderness. Now I wonder if this little cub that's just gone, oh there we go, would have lured out the others, and it has indeed. And you can see considerably smaller, and I think too small to be from the same litter. You do occasionally get drastic size differences between individuals because one may outcompete one when feeding, even to the point of death. But these size differences are too drastic for them to be from the same litter, we think. I chatted with Brent the other day about it, and it would be really interesting to know exactly what's going on here. Well, I've just heard over the radio that Brent and Brian are not far from completing the tyre change. So it'll just be a few minutes until they're back up and running and on the search for anything interesting. So that's good news. Looks like it's coming to say hello. Now last time it came very, very close to the vehicle to check us out, and it'll be interesting to see if it comes to say hello again. For the time being though, like most young animals, they chew on just about anything they can see, and here it looks to be like a magic quarry branch of sorts, or a magic quarry branch that's dried out. I could be wrong. Well, not like this time, but possibly next time it will decide to come for a closer look. Well, you'll notice how the other cub has got no attention whatsoever from the adults and hasn't even tried to come and do any nursing, so hard to say why that is the case, because we're not exactly sure. It certainly is interesting that the one cub is certainly getting far more attention than the others. The other day the female did clean one of the smaller cubs to a degree, but I don't think she let it nurse, not that I saw. Well, for now, all is calm and peaceful at the hyena den site, and potentially later things will heat up a little bit. But for now, it's looking like a very calm and unplayful scenario. We'll spend a bit more time here and see if things don't liven up a little bit before heading off to search for something else. Linda on Twitter, good afternoon, and welcome to the Hyena Den sites. Linda is asking whether it's possible that the two smaller cubs are from a separate mother, and yes, it certainly could be the case. That would be my guess, and I think it was also Brent's feelings, because these cubs are just too different in size to be from the same mother. As I did mention earlier, it's not uncommon for hyena cubs to compete fiercely amongst one another, and therefore the biggest and strongest one, or the most successful one at doing that, will tend to grow faster than its brothers and sisters, and it's often the female that is the strongest if there is a male involved in the equation. So in this scenario, this individual that we're looking at is just simply far too big relative to the other two to have outcompeted them to that degree. It's an age difference, almost certainly, that we think. Now, this potentially is the alpha female, and she would have potentially tolerated the beta female giving birth, and now is also kind of part raising these cubs. Somebody must be raising them, otherwise they wouldn't be alive now. But at the moment, as you can see, she's completely disinterested in them, and if anything, they're cautious of coming up to her. So it's really interesting behavior, and sadly we haven't spent enough time here to know the ins and outs of exactly what goes on. But in the coming weeks, we'll certainly find out the fates of these cubs, and hopefully a little bit more insight into who's who. And while the hyena is sleeping and not doing anything too exciting, Andrew's decided to swivel over and show you the sun that's beginning to set over the horizon. Probably quite a while, hey? Wait for them to get up and active. There's not much else going on, so I don't see the points in rushing away from here. What I would love to know is the network of tunnels down in that burrow that the cubs just disappeared into. It really would be interesting to know how deep the tunnels go and how many little chambers or rooms are in there, because there certainly could be quite a number of them, and possibly we'll have to come back tomorrow and send Andrew in there to draw up a floor plan of what the rooms are like down there. Are they doing anything, Ephraim? Copy. Kashan, I'm at the Nisika and Rebecca's. I'm just wondering, Brent's closer by. Copy. Yeah, Sydney's down, Brent. Faga Jumbo. It's Ephraim. Sorry, Ephraim, just to let you know, Brent's going to head towards that area to join you. He's coming from Buffalo's Hook Dam. Please just tell Brent I've got a hold of Ephraim. He can make his way there. The second cub's just about to poke its head out. And you can just see an ear. And this behavior now that we see when they do come out is what we need to pay attention to, because by looking at the reaction of this adult towards these two cubs and the cubs towards the adults, we can kind of make some assumptions, I guess, if we continue to come and watch them closely, But right now, I mean, no mother would treat her kids like this mother's treating those two down in the burrow, surely. It's as if she doesn't even think that they're there. Despite all of our kind of intrigue as to what exactly is going on, the good news is that all the cubs do look healthy. So, like I did mention briefly earlier, somebody must be looking after them, even though right now it appears that nobody does really care for them, other than themselves. And who knows, maybe their mother comes in at a different stage to the female that's here, for whatever reason that may be, but she may come and do her feeding at different hours when we're not here, or maybe this individual female feeds them also, but just simply at different hours when we are not around. Copy that, Ephraim, thank you. Alex, if you could relate to Brent that those animals will be drinking at Sydney's dam shortly. Copy, wunderbar. I'm hoping that another hyena, another adult that we saw here a couple of nights ago, I think it was 2 evenings ago, pops up onto the scene to spice things up a little bit, because that other individual did seem to interact with the other cubs a little bit. Really interesting how the 2 cubs of the same age are so different in terms of their boldness. The one is completely happy to come out and light the entrance to the den, whereas the other is very, very nervous of coming out. Anyway, Brent's managed to get himself into a situation of excitement, so I think we should cross over to him and see what exactly it's all about. So we'll catch up with you later.
Welcome back, guys. By the skin of our teeth today, we've managed to keep the cat streak going. Quite interestingly, I told you that the Nkuhuma Pride had joined up with the 2 young lionesses that had been lost, but the young male and another lioness have separated from them, and they are still where we saw them cross. Was it yesterday afternoon? Yesterday afternoon.
Yeah.
They've done a loop. I think they probably are looking for the rest of the pride, and they are still hungry. But as you can see, they are just across our boundary again. That's why we're not closer. But we will stay with them because I do think they might come back this way. Still definitely hungry. The 2 of them being separated from the pride is not nearly as probably life-threatening as the other 2. These 2 are of an age where they are capable of hunting. Although the young male might be a bit of a liability, the lioness was definitely capable of bringing down an impala or kudu, or even wildebeest by herself. Come on, 4. Actually doing some low contact calls. Just hear that. So she's possibly come back into this area because they got separated from the pride quite close to her, so they've come back to have a look for the rest of the pride. The other thing is that there was an update that the Birmingham males are not very far from here in Buffalo's Hook on the Manuleti boundary. Probably about a kilometre, maybe even a little bit less from here. It'd be interesting maybe if they heard those contact calls, to whether they would actually come into this area. So I'm going to position ourselves so we can see both the male and the female. Yep, those calls on mic. Okay, so I don't know if you guys can hear that very low. There's contact calls from the lioness. So now looking back to where the young male was lying, probably about just over 100 meters away from there, still sitting down. I'm going to stay on her for now, just to see what she does. Because if the young male doesn't move, there is a possibility she might come back towards us. So if you have a bit of fiddling around, it's just me changing camera lenses. She's disappeared around the corner, and he's still sitting and he's up. What I'm hoping is she cuts west from the dam if she can't find the other lines and back towards our boundary. And boys get brave enough to challenge them. Quite a nice long distance shot there. The male walking up against the dam. We're going to shoot forward again. There's another gap where we can see through after this little drainage line and thicket. And just stay with him while we can see him. Probably likely they got separated during hunting last night, and it does happen with lions quite often, so it's not an unusual thing. Hopefully that Franklin alarming means she's at the fence at one of the private homes here and is coming back southwest towards our boundary. Always be positive. Don't go east. They're Birmingham's there. We're at Sydney's dam. So Alex just asked me to confirm which dam we're at, and that this dam is Sydney's dam. For those who've been watching a few times, it's where we had those elephants swimming, and where we left the Nkuhumas last night, where they chased that hippo right at the end. Okay, let's see. I can see, there she is. Now we want her to walk up this path straight towards us. I just got a glimpse of her through the quarry bush there. I'm just going to wait here. See? Nice shot. The bushes are framing her perfectly in the gap there.
Yeah.
The twin dams for Bosom.
She is looking sort of in the western direction, which is good news for us.
Start and end your day on safari.
And still head west, and we should be able to have a good view from around here. So we will sit tight, don't worry. Not going anywhere. Gonna go back a tiny bit. So when she gets to the dam wall there, you can hear that. You can hear the contact calls again. Once she gets to the top of that dam, I'm just hang on, I just need to update. They didn't drink, they just walked past the dam. So when she gets up onto that wall, it's very important to see which way she's going. Sorry, I know I'm messing with your camera there. Come on, go left. Go left. Go left. Please go left. maybe some flattery. It's such a pretty lioness. Please go left.
so beautiful.
Yes, we love you. Come back. Well, this makes the flat tire worth it. So the fence you see in the foreground there is one of the private landowners' houses. Or his fence, not his house, obviously. See, she's trying to smell and pick up. That's almost the exact same place where we lost them walking last night. She went over the dam, so we don't know whether she went left or right to the other side, which could be quite tricky. Try to see where he goes. Maybe he'll give us a better indication of which way they're moving. Firm, but we might be able to pick them up again on another long distance visual down the road if they continue west. But once the male's over there, I think we'll cut to Scott, and then Brian and I will try to see if we can get another view. Okay, so it looked like he did turn west, but while Brian and I go, we go fiddle around, because it's actually at the main entrance gates to the Sabi Sands around here, so we're going to go fiddle around. There's lots of houses and people and stuff like that, so we're going to just see if they come through that area back towards us. In the meantime, we're going to cross you back over to Scott and the hyenas, so enjoy those, and hopefully we'll be back with the lions in a few minutes.
Welcome back, and so happy that Brent managed to show you those two members of the Nkuhuma Pride, and hopefully he will be able to relocate them. I believe there is a chance he could find them again if they continue moving in the direction they're heading in. So that's good prospects, and our big cat luck continues, so that's great news. An update on what's been happening here Not too much. The other two smaller cubs were poking their head out of the burrow, but never really came out much further than you would have seen them do just a few minutes before we headed across to Brent's. And it's still just the mother and the biggest cub. No change, with the little cub nursing. Oh, sorry, the larger cub nursing. And the mother's getting quite nervous now because the wind's picking up. And all these rustling leaves are difficult to differentiate between any threat or danger that may be approaching the den. And it will be interesting to see when she heads out on her evening hunt this evening, and that's why I would like to stay here for as long as possible, because it will be interesting to try and just really gain as much insight as we can into these animals while we do have them at a den site. When hyena are not at a den site, we typically don't really get to see much of them. They're always moving too quickly for us to keep up with, and they're just unique, I guess, in the way that they don't tolerate us viewing them like lion and leopard do. Even though these youngsters are being exposed to vehicles and humans from a young age, just like this one, and realizing that we don't form a threat to them, but they are just difficult animals for us to view when they are not denning. Or more importantly, when we don't know where their den site is. Good evening, Aubrey. I would love to be able to know how far hyena travel every night. So have a tracking device on a hyena over a 1 month period would be hugely interesting, because they do cover huge distances in search of potential prey. Well, as far as I'm assuming they do, judging by the amount of their tracks we see on the road networks, and simply by the reality of the fact that in this area they do scavenge a lot from leopard, and therefore need to travel great distances to find a leopard in which to scavenge from. What can she see over there? I certainly can't see anything. She seems to be bobbing her head from side to side, trying to focus on something. And the little cub certainly making the most of this last opportunity to feed before they get left for the night. And now one other cub's just popped out, so let's see what happens here. Very nervous. And excited, I guess. Cute. Yeah, I got the gist of it. Thank you, copy that. So not hugely unwelcoming behavior from the adult, but at the same time we haven't seen any feeding, any major grooming. It was a very basic hello almost that the adult hyena gave that slightly smaller cub. And it's still the same cub, the larger one, that continues to feed. Yet we haven't seen the others feed, so the light is fading quickly, and Andrew's, I think, down to his last stop to let in as much light as possible. You have one more.
That's it.
That's it. So the light will continue to deteriorate, and Andrew's sadly not going to be able to do anything more to allow this camera to let any more light. But we're still good for a few more minutes. It's really unbelievable how such a young animal can be so well behaved. I think that's a lesson for all of us with, I guess, a lot of pets that you think should not be well disciplined from a young age. That little cub up there certainly knows what to do and what not to do, and that's probably because it's received one or two nips from the adults when they do put a foot out of line. Evening, guys. Just testing if my radio is working. The technician was in today. It's Scott here from Wild Earth. Can any Arethusa station copy?
Sailor might be off, Scott.
Ooh, sorry.
Just behind the bush, yeah? Just behind the bush, right?
Okay, cool. Thank you. I was just looking down at the radio there for a second, folks, to see if the radio technician had managed to fix the radio problems on that. This hyena's possibly heading out on her evening patrol, and what we're going to do is just make sure that she is heading off and then try and follow her, because that'll be a wonderful way to finish off the evening. As I said, we battled to actually spend much time with them. If you could just go again from if she moved them. Lois, good evening and welcome to the hyena den site. Lois is asking whether if this hyena, the adult, moves the one cub, would she move the other two? And that is a good question that I did not.
Every day, twice a day through January.
Get a fresh home with less parasites. You could imagine how the parasites build up once they've spent a couple of weeks in one place, whereas if they go to a den site that's been abandoned for a few weeks, Mother Nature naturally clears that up and makes it a bit more livable. Really interesting behavior, how the mother's kind of waiting a short distance away from the den and this cub's running backwards and forwards to her and then back to the entrance of the den. But you would think she would just get up and go when it was time to go. Now some of you may be wondering why we're not shining a spotlight to aid in the shots, and that's because this is a very sensitive area with very young cubs. So to shine a spotlight on the scenario, we would certainly be impacting or creating a possible scenario that aids in any other threat that may be intent on causing harm to these hyena. We would be aiding them by blinding the young hyena. The mother's sat down now and has started doing a little bit of grooming. Now the risk is that when she gets mobile, she might not use the road that we used to come in on, and it's a very tricky area to negotiate around here. There's a small riverbed, so following her might not work out, but at least if we do wait here as long as we can, we'll have a chance of that happening. Another reason why I'm hanging around is that I would really love to hear her vocalize from close proximity. The hyena's call is one of my favorites, and I haven't heard it in close proximity for far too long, and I'd love to share that with you. Well, the mother is off, and not heading in a direction that suits us, sadly. So we're just going to continue, and we tried as much as we could. She could well change direction and pop out onto a road that we're heading onto now, but not too promising at this stage. Well, thank you, hyena family. That was the most pleasant afternoon. Not the most active we've seen them, but again, if we want to get to the bottom of what's going on with these different cubs and who's the mother, etc., etc., there's only one way to do that, and that is to invest time in watching them. And the more we do that, the more we may gain insights into what exactly is going on with them. Okay, small nocturnal critters, come out wherever you are. Just can't seem to get comfortable in my seat today. I'm not sure what the problem is. It must be me though, because the seat probably hasn't changed in all the drives that I've been on, but I keep swiveling around today. I just can't seem to get in the right position. Is still standing by, they're hoping for them to pop out. Okay, copy. Well, Brent's just left the area. He did wait in an area where he hoped the lion would pop out, but sadly they didn't, and he's just slowly making his way back. But this might be a good opportunity for us to cross back to him and get an update on what's been happening.
Welcome back, guys. Unfortunately those lions did not come back our way, so we waited in that spot for about 15-20 minutes hoping they would come through, and they didn't. So what we're going to do now is, we saw one set of female leopard tracks earlier in the day crossing the road, so we're going to make our way into that area. Hopefully that animal's moved out onto the road and we will have a bit of luck. Okay, well, we're going to keep trying. So we're going to bypass a big herd of impala. As I'm sure everyone knows, we don't shine lights on them. Makes them blind for a short time. And as we don't want to affect what happens, we don't want to give the predator or the prey more of an advantage. We just want to let nature take its course. Picked up quite a bit. And you notice it's getting darker and earlier now as we get closer to winter. Nice thing about having this little bit of extra time in the dark is you never know, you might see one of the more interesting smaller animals like a genet or a civet, and a bush baby. So this is where we found the tracks crossing. If you see where my light's shining there, that's where the tracks crossed. We're going to slow down and look very carefully around here. How's that sky, guys? As Brian would say, just another tough day for the Wild Earth crew.
Tough day for the Wild Earth crew.
Hear all the crickets. Very quiet out here, not even seeing the eyes of the diurnal animals. Copy, thanks. Well guys, thanks for joining us again this afternoon. It was a bit slow on our side and we had some fun. Brian and I attempted to beat an F1 Formula pit record at changing tyres. We failed dismally and all we managed to do was get quite dirty in the process. But really nice to have those lines right towards the end. Pity they didn't come back our side, but that's one of the things. We can't control where they walk. This is the bush after all. And we're going to hand you back over to Scott for the last few minutes of drive. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope to see you all, or not see you all, but hear from you all tomorrow morning. So please do join us for our morning drive. Thanks very much and have a good evening.
Well, welcome back, and if you look closely you'll notice a small chameleon in the center of the shot. It's not hugely easy to see, or at least on my monitor it isn't, but it is there, and you can see its little tail curled up, fast asleep after a tough day out catching insects with its tongue, would you believe it? And that's something that I really would love to try and share with all of you. A chameleon unleashing its tongue at a item of prey. But that's not going to happen tonight because, as I did just say, it's fast asleep and they are diurnal animals. So we will reverse and leave it to its own devices. We don't want to wake it up or disturb it in any way. Continue on looking for anything of interest along the way. Well, thanks again to Andrew on camera, Alex in final control, and to the other vehicle, Brent and Brian, for everything that they've done to make today possible. And then, most importantly, to all of you, the viewers, thanks for all your support, and I hope you enjoyed this afternoon's drive. We had kind of a mix and match of different highlights. Elephants with myself earlier on, and then the lion with Brent a little bit later. The hyena densite's always good quality, and the mystery behind what's going on with those cubs is something that hopefully we'll be able to establish over the coming months. Anyway, there's not much longer left, so a big goodbye from myself, and Brent and I will be out in the morning again in search of anything exciting. The Nkuhuma Pride is heading kind of roughly in the direction of Djuma, so maybe we'll get lucky and get to view them again tomorrow. And who knows what will happen with the other two that have split up that you saw with Brent this evening. Anyway, that's all for tomorrow morning, and until then, have a great evening or day depending on where you are, and we'll see you then. Game viewer approaching. I'm not sure if they're just continuing on their evening adventure in search of animals, and they probably are. Evening, how are you doing?
How did you book on there?
Oh, nothing. Long fun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that guy thought I was hiding a sighting from him, so he was coming to investigate. But it was just a chameleon we were looking at.